Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, authorities in Amhara accuse rebels from the neighbouring Ethiopian region of Tigray of having killed dozens of civilians after a military loss. Over 100 bodies are reportedly found in mass graves. Also, Moroccans turned out to the polls on Wednesday for legislative and regional elections that are likely to be a close race. The ruling Islamist party is betting on securing a third term. And a Ugandan mother hopes to help root kids firmly in STEM topics by setting up a coding class in her garden. Money is no obstacle, as the sessions are free, and youngsters as little as 6 come along and get stuck in. But first, Tigrayan rebels have denied allegations that they killed more than 120 civilians earlier this month. The bodies were reportedly found in mass graves, and locals say some people are still missing. Officials in Dabat, in the region of Amhara, which borders Tigray, say that rebels looted and massacred villages after days of fighting with federal troops around the city of Gondar. Tigrayan forces accuse the Amhara regional government of fabricating those claims. Now, it's the latest reported mass killing in 10 months of devastated conflict in northern Ethiopia between government forces and their allies and Tigrayan fighters. Sam Mulgetachew joins us now with more. Sam, what more can you tell us about the circumstances in which those bodies were found?
What we know so far is at least 125 people have been killed. The TPLF, the spokesperson Getachew Reda, came out in the last few hours saying that they did not kill any civilians. Now we just have to define what civilian means. What he's trying to say is that some of these people were armed. They were trying to resist the occupation that was about to happen with the TPLF that has been advancing within the Amhara region in the last few months.
Now, the war's caused immense human suffering. Both sides, the Ethiopian army and Tigrayan fighters, have been accused of atrocities. Is it possible to say one is worse than the other?
I think that's best to be answered by organizations that have done this kind of work, including the Ethiopian Human Rights Organization in Addis Ababa and the UN agencies. But what we know for a fact is it's not just one ethnic group that's being affected by this conflict that began in November. It's all sides that are beginning to be affected. And at the end of the day, I'm not just trying to focus on this specific incident. I'm trying to tell you the bigger picture that so many have traveled to this area, including the Tigray region and the Amhara region in the recent months. What we know for a fact is people are dying. It's not just one ethnic group that's being affected. Mm-hmm. It's all sides, and it's very unfortunate.
And what can you tell us about the latest situation in terms of the Tigrayan fighters who we saw earlier this year make quite a spectacular reversal of fortune in terms of their advancements against the government troops? Where do things stand at the moment in terms of on the front of conflict?
At the moment, as you know, the Ethiopian Prime Minister has been going to different countries trying to drum up support. He was in Istanbul not too long ago trying to get, again, military support. He's been in many African countries. He was in Ghana, West Africa, in the last 24 hours. So this is trying to drum up support and see how he can really answer to the kind of success the TPLF, a rebel group, a terrorist group that the Ethiopian government has described, and trying to get some kind of response. Because as you mentioned, the TPLF has been getting some success in the last few weeks, and the Ethiopian side is expected to respond in the coming days and weeks. That's what we're hearing from the ground.
Thanks very much. Sam Mulgetachew there for us in Addis Ababa. Now, Moroccans turned out to the polls on Wednesday for legislative and regional elections that are likely to be a close race. 31 parties and coalitions are competing for the 395 seats in the lower house of parliament, and voters will also be selecting representatives for 678 seats in regional councils. The Islamist Justice and Development Party is looking to secure a third term at the head of a ruling coalition, but changes to the voting system and voter apathy could cost them. Karis Garland has more.
It's been a quieter affair than previous years. Social distancing measures restricted campaigning in Morocco's legislative and regional elections to social media and small groups on the streets. The pandemic is one of the key issues as voters head to the polls, with the country feeling the pinch of a deepening economic crisis. While many are expected to abstain, some Moroccans say the vote could be an opportunity for change.
تجديد بغينا التشبيب بغينا الناس اللي عندها رؤية واضحة للمدينة كيفاش بغات تشوفها من هنا 2026
وأنا عارف بلادنا هي أحسن بلاد ولكن بغينا يكون التغيير إن شاء الله نتمنوا من هذه الحكومة هذه يكون التغيير.
The Islamic Justice and Development Party has governed Morocco for the last 10 years, but this year a change in the voting system could see the PJD lose its majority. The new system could produce a divided parliament and make it more difficult to form a coalition. However, smaller parties stand to benefit, and so does the PJD's main competition, the Authenticity and Modernity Party. Regardless of who comes out on top, major decisions are made by Morocco's king, including defence issues, foreign affairs and managing the pandemic.
Now, the jailed leader of a Nigerian separatist group has sued his government for allegedly being illegally transferred from Kenya. Nnamdi Kanu, who also holds British citizenship and wants to return to the UK, is the head of the indigenous people of Biafra group. It's pushing for the southeast to break away from the rest of the country and has been labelled a terrorist organisation by the government. Now, Kanu is currently being detained in Abuja on treason charges. He was rearrested in June after having disappeared from Nigeria whilst on bail in 2017. Now, Kenya's denied being involved in the circumstances of Kanu's arrest. West African bloc ECOWAS has suspended Guinea over the coup that saw President Alpha Condé unseated over the weekend by a military takeover. The Economic Community of West African States is also due to send a mediation mission to the country on Thursday. Condé, who came to power in 2010, had been accused of becoming increasingly authoritarian. However, there's been international condemnation of his sudden ousting. It's deepened concerns about democratic backsliding across the region, which has seen several armed takeovers over the last decade. In an exclusive interview with Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, told France 24 that military coups are a step backwards for the continent.
Well, that's unfortunate. It is a step backwards. Those military coups are of no value. We had them in the 1960s. They were part of Africa's problems. So I condemned the coup. We don't accept the idea of coups. Those coups are not a solution.
Should there be sanctions against the authors?
Yes, they should get out. They should be told to go away because they are not a solution to problems of the country.
And finally, one Ugandan mother has set up a coding club in her garden in which she welcomes the programmers of the future. Shamim Mwanaisha used her savings to set up the classes where kids as little as 6 can come and learn the fundamentals. She's hoping that it will help turn more of them to STEM subjects in the future. Take a look.
In Uganda, schools remain closed because of COVID-19. But one woman is welcoming children to her house and teaching them coding, science and even aviation. The classes are free. Shamim Mwanaisha mainly caters to underprivileged children.
This is one here. Okay.
Mwanaisha was inspired to take up coding 3 years ago when her 7-year-old son expressed interest in the topic. COVID restrictions are not making things easy.
Children have to learn from outside my compound, whereby we face a problem of sunshine. It's too hot outside. Sometimes when you're learning, it rains, and other parents, they don't have money to buy internet, so few of them go online.
Apart from coding, the children learn about aviation. They observe aircraft parts and watch documentaries.
With my passion in aviation and climate change, I hope that one day I'll be able to discover biofuels which planes can use instead of fossil fuels, which damage the environment.
Mwanaisha is looking for donors to help buy more laptops and equipment for her aviation programs. Africa is the world's last major untapped market for internet access. According to the International Telecommunication Union, only 16% of its billion people use the internet.
And finally, it's with great sadness that we pay tribute to our colleague, Amobi Mevege, who's passed away aged 53. He was a towering figure in the arts and presented the French Channel's culture show for France 24. He tirelessly promoted the music and creativity of Africa throughout his career. Names from across the continent's music and art scene have been paying tribute to Amobi and his work.
It's a huge shock to have known his talent, to have known his commitment to Africa. All these projects and all the initiatives he took in the cultural sector.
It's a huge loss for all Pan-Africans. Our sincere condolences go out to his family, for them and for all of us Pan-Africans. It's a huge, huge loss.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.